All right, we know the drill with these by now. Let's support the conclusion. Let's go right into it. Archaeologists, Petra, whatever, anthropologists, whatever, and their colleagues investigated the domestication of farm animals in China during the Bronze Age. By analyzing the chemical composition of the bones of sheep, goats, and cattle from this era, the team determined that wild plants made up the bulk of sheep's and goats' diets, while the cattle's diet consisted largely of millet, a crop cultivated by humans. The team concluded that cattle were likely raised closer to human settlements, whereas sheep and goats were allowed to roam farther away. So I'm not going to bother dumb summarizing this because it's very dumb summarizing this because it just kind of says exactly what I would say, right? It's very clear language. The cattle is close, the sheep are far. So I don't know. Let's just see if anything goes with that. A, analysis of the animal bones showed the cattle's diet also consisted of wheat, which humans widely cultivated in China during the Bronze Age. Okay. Well, if it's wheat that they cultivated, isn't that kind of the same of millet that they cultivated? I don't know how that supports it, but it certainly doesn't seem like wrong. It's just reiterating what we've already said. I don't know. Honestly, sometimes that's what we want from these answer choices for the SAT, right? The choice that says the least, that does the least work is probably best. So I don't know. I don't feel strongly either way, but I have no reason to get rid of this. B, further investigation of sheep and goat bones revealed that their diets consisted of small portions of millets as well. No. Right? Because if they're eating millet that was cultivated, then that completely undermines their point that they're different, right? If we were to dumb summarize this passage, the difference is cattle are not the same as goats and sheep, right? Different things. So if we say that the goats and sheep also ate millet, which is what the cattle ate, then we're saying they're not different anymore. They're the same, right? So this is undermining, this is weakening our conclusion. Weakens. C, cattle's diets generally require large amounts of food and a greater variety of nutrients than do sheep's and goats' diets. Okay, fine, but that might explain why they were fed millet, but that doesn't have anything to do with whether or not they were close or far from humans, right? I mean, it's not explaining the right thing. The thing that we're trying to do is talk about the distance. And so this is just, I mean, I guess they could be closer because they need more food given to them or special kinds of food. And so it's easier to give them the food if they are in a barn that's close to you. Like, I don't know, but it doesn't really seem to be related to the stuff we've already talked about, the crops. This just feels like I'm stretching it. D, the diets of sheep, goats, and cattle were found to vary based on what the farmers in each Bronze Age settlement could grow. Okay, fine, but then how can you make a conclusion about whether the goats versus the cows were far or close, right? Like, the whole point is we need to know what they ate because that's what the conclusion is based upon, is about what they ate determines whether they were close or far. And so if they just say, oh, well, different places fed them different things, then that's not a conclusion. That's just like completely getting rid of the evidence that you found and invalidating the conclusion. So it's A. It's A because, like I said, it barely says anything at all. Maybe C somehow could be twisted and fit into there, but you got to notice when you've got an easy answer versus a hard answer, right? And I think some of you have a bad habit with this, where you like tell yourself stories. You have a wild imagination, and you make up really weird reasons to make a choice work. And a lot of time, I think you do it knowing it doesn't work. But almost like you're like getting in an argument with the SAT. You're like, well, this could work, and I'm going to prove it to you by picking it and coming up with my little story. But who cares? Who are you arguing with? It's a computer, right? Like, you don't get any points for finding some weird exception where you could have been right. That's why when you have two answers and both of them seem logical, try to feel which one is the most logical, which one is the easiest to just slot right back into the passage. Choice A takes a sentence. Well, the cattle ate millet, which humans cultivated. So if they ate wheat, which they also cultivated, then it's probably the same thing, right? It probably just means that they also were living near humans. It's the same thing. We're just swapping millet for wheat. Everything else about the story is staying the same. That's a simple answer. So just keep it simple. Don't argue with the test. You're never going to win.